Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's Zuri Invest time here, and we are here in the offices of Zuri Invest to do a little bit of an interview with Mark Childy, CEO of Condor Gold. You remember the fantastic gold developer out of Nicaragua. Mark, welcome.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, great to have you here again. I think it's approximately 8-9 months almost ago we spoke the last time, but yes. I would say a lot of things happened. You are developing your mine towards production. You are working on the permits in Nicaragua. Maybe you can elaborate a bit on that, and then let's dive into some more details.
Yes, certainly. Well, just as an introduction, as you know, we have a twin strategy to permanently construct a base case 100,000 ounce per annum gold mine. And the second part is to show we've got a major gold district of 5 million ounces plus. So that's the strategy.
Yeah, of course. And you have the land, the size, and the ability to do that. That's for sure. So let's dive into the permitting, because I think this is key to the next steps and for the success of your company.
Yes.
You have an amended EIA, environmental
impact assessment.
Yeah, impact. That was what I was searching. Thank you. Impact assessment. So, what were the results? Why have you done that?
Well, we submitted our environmental impact assessment about 2.5 years ago, and that is a technical study of 700 pages, which applies for the environmental permit, which is the master permit in Nicaragua. When we originally did this, we spoke with the government, and there was a resettlement of about 330 houses, and the government indicated that wouldn't be a problem because it was a really poor town with 40% poverty level, and the fact they would get drinking water and sewage and everything else.
Electricity.
The improved electricity. That was thought not to be a problem. We have subsequently found that moving 1,000 people is a challenge. And we got a bit tied up with some anti-mining groups, political opposition in a sense, making us a bit of a political football. So we redesigned the mine plan at the end of last year. In October, I took on a mining engineer from B2 Gold to work with us as the general manager for Minalandia. And we resubmitted this, amended, if you like, this permit application to avoid any resettlement of 1,000 people.
Oh, nice.
So that was put in January this year. And before we put it in, we had working committees, about 4 different sessions with 2 ministries, saying, we're going to make these changes, do you need any other information? So by the time it goes in, it's pretty much agreed at the technical level for what they need from the studies that we have to put in for that permit application. So the big thing is that we're not moving a village. That makes it a lot easier for the government to permit the project.
Probably cheaper for you also, right?
And it's also cheaper for us because we haven't got to move. It's going to cost millions to move people, and that price would have only gone up. But the reserve number that we have, so within our resource of 2.5 million ounces, we have a reserve of 675,000 ounces at 3 grams. It's a high-grade open pit. The smaller pit won't change the reserve number, maybe by 5 or 10%. We're just going through those studies at the moment. So the good news is that we should still be able to produce from reserve about 70 to 80,000 ounces of gold per annum without having to move people.
Wow, fantastic. Okay. Can we talk a little bit about, let's say, also the social benefits then? I mean, we are now already talking about not moving houses, leaving the people where they are, but still bringing them advantages like sewage, water, improved electricity. But what is also, let's say, to improve their lives when they work for you? I mean, do you pay higher salaries, for example? I'm sure you have to pay taxes and royalties, so that helps to improve the region, but also for the state of Nicaragua, right? Yeah, it's positive.
The mine is very positive, and Nicaragua is pro-mining. Gold's the 3rd biggest export. There are 3 mines. So we've had an independent economic study done by FUNIDES, which is the economic think tank locally. We have done that study on the benefits of the mine to the local economy, to i.e. the village in the area, to the broader community and Department of Leon, and to the central government. If you take the local level, there's 500 jobs, and we are currently training 320 people. The average wage in mining is $700 in Nicaragua out of the commercial mines. The national average wage is 200, And where we are in La India, it's really poor. It's probably about $100. So we can materially give people who work in the mine, the average wage will be sort of 5 to 6 times what they're getting locally. So there's a big incentive for them. With the village remaining where it is, we will invest heavily in the village. And we're committing to the government to put $1 million into the village. For example, there's no drinking water. It's half an hour every 48 hours. So we can give them drinking water as part of, when we get permitted, we can put in a big system to help with drinking water. And there are many other benefits that we'll do. We'll try through other NGOs to get our $1 million matched by other people. So if we put $100,000 for a healthcare centre, we'll try and get some Rotary Club or other institution to help match that. And I think as a British company, we can at least make sure that aid goes where it's supposed to be going, which is important for these donors to come in. We've all our social communications planned. We've run past the World Bank IFC, who are our shareholder in the company. They have put in $5.5 million, quite a bit higher, about 90p is their average price. And I think that, that has helped us get the social part. But the key thing with the mine is not just what happens when you build the mine, i.e. a lot more jobs, 500 jobs, royalties into the area. So the Nicaraguan government is quite fair. There's a 3% off sales, but 2% of that goes to the central government, 1% goes to the local mayor. So he suddenly, he'll have 1.2 million per annum locally, which is double his current grant or money from the central government at the moment. So there's lots of good economic messages we can give. Importantly at the moment, and this is the challenge I think a lot of mining companies have, is it's gaining your social license to operate. We have 67 people on the payroll. We have 15, 17 in the social team. And we're spending this month, the next 3 months, about $25,000 per month in that community. And we've started from the beginning of this year to have certain social groups which we engage with the company. So there's an elderly group, just to give you a little example, where we engage an elderly group of, say, 6 people. We give them some money to spend, say a couple of $1,000s for that month. They can't give cash handouts. And they came and we say, what do you want to do? So this is empowering that group. They came back to us and said, well, we want to register ID cards for Social Security. So the social team went around all the elderly in the area, and they're 96. 30% have no ID card. The way you get your ID card from, and so is an hour and a half drive away in the biggest town of Leon. And then they're all delighted. They had a little party, and even people who've been a bit against the mine saw that we were helping the communities. Now, that's just one example. I've just flown in this weekend from Nicaragua, just had last week there. We're currently delivering, for example, as we're getting permitted, water. I mentioned when we build the mine, we'll put in piped water and a new water distribution for the village. But at the moment, we're giving these 5-gallon water jars. Every week, there's about 360 being delivered to different houses. Every time they're delivered by a member of our social team or 2 people from the social team. And that's an enabler for us to open the door, give them the water. And then if they've got any questions about the mine, what are the jobs, what's the employment, what else are you doing? And if we're running for example, we have a joint venture with the Ministry of Health on healthcare and psychiatric care actually in the community. And there's some issues of as you expect with extreme poverty of 40%. So the healthcare problems, the education, the healthcare things we do, and education and so on, and jobs that we're offering, we communicate that as we go around. So we're now have done so much work locally compared with where we were, say, 2 years ago. And our main focus has been gaining this social license to operate.
Fantastic. So, but okay, this raises a question to me. I mean, with all this positive work you are doing, I mean, Nicaragua must speed up to give you a permit, right?
Well,
because
we hope so. Yes,
it's for their people.
It is for their people. It's their mine. ultimately, for the benefit of, it's got to be a win-win for the key stakeholders. It's got to win for the government. So the government have had a study saying, there's $70 million of taxes out of the mine at the central level. It's got to win for employment, reducing poverty. We can take that down in half at least, probably down to 70% with a new mine. Lots of employment of 500 jobs and foreign direct investment of 120 million. So it's really a win-win, and it boosts their third biggest export by 30 to 40% because it's that's important than gold. The last 2 times I've been to Nicaragua and met the Minister of Energy and Mines, he has been accompanied by the President's son. Again, this is a good sign because they don't come into the meeting if it's not going to happen. So the Minister. I've also engaged the British ambassador to Nicaragua. I had dinner with him last week in the capital. He's meeting the Minister of Energy and Mines. So we're getting British government and Nicaraguan government dialogue saying, we've got a delay on permits. We've now redesigned this. There's no reason why you shouldn't give the mine.
Exactly.
You need the investment. We want to give it to you. So I think that there's good movement. And the last thing I should say is that following that permit application, we've had a final site inspection. So about 4 weeks ago, we had 3 ministries, the Ministry of Energy and Mines, the Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Forestry, go up and look at this new layout where we move the plant 1.2 kilometres from the village, so there's no noise and dust pollution from the plant itself. And we have a smaller pit and we put a barrier of 5 to 10 metres high between the pit and the village. And so they look at the tailings, the waste, and they just do an inspection on that. There's been a few questions, which we will be answering this week and next week. That would be expected after a technical visit.
Fantastic. Okay.
So it's making good progress on the ground.
That's important. Any speculation when you might get the permit? Can we do that? I don't know.
We can. I've made the mistake of saying this before, that we'll get permits by the end of a year, and it's not happened. But what we're seeing on the ground is final site inspections. That's got to tell you something. We're seeing ministers telling British ambassadors the project goes ahead. And a number of other different ministers I've met, they want to see the project. I think that we're in hopefully the last 10% of permitting. I'm reluctant to put an exact date on it because if it was me, I'd have issued the permits a year ago. but I don't issue the permits, and I've got to work within Nicaragua. They could ask another question. Something could come up. But overall, we've removed the red flag. The red flag was moving 1,000 people. So I think we're going to get the permits. I hope by the summer. Or around the summer. It would be great to have them in the next couple of months, but I can't give a time.
That's right. So last question, let's assume you have the permit. How long does it take to go to production?
Well, we've been, because there's been an 18-month delay in permits, so I've been managing the share dilution of the company, or a big, because obviously we're exploration, we don't have revenues, and we had a small placement at 43p a few weeks ago. The shares are up 20%, which is quite nice, so which is good. So we're funded, importantly, for the next 12 months. But assuming we don't do any drilling, once we grant the permits, we're 12 months before construction. And in that 12 months, I've got 3 value creations. One is to go get a bankable feasibility study. 2 is to drill out some feeder pits and show that this 80,000 could be maybe 40–50% more per annum for the 5 years. So we resize it a bit more. And 3 is to add another 1 million ounces to the headline resource. And that would be achieved, those goals, those 3 parts I'd like to achieve within 12 months of being granted the permit. And then once after that 12 months, we're in 18-month construction period.
Voilà. Okay, super. Perfect. Mark, thank you very much. Really keep fingers crossed for the permits. I think you're doing everything right.
We're doing everything I can think of, I assure you.
And you're helping the country and the people in there. I think that's one of the most important things, aside of mining and making lots of money, because this is what those countries really deserve and need, because they are poor. So you are bringing the jobs and the money.
Absolutely. You've got to get the social license. You've got to win over the local people as well. It's not just good enough to say jobs. You've got to demonstrate it much, much earlier on than you might have done before. Hence the $25,000 a month across several different parts of the local community.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And look forward for the update then.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it was Mark Child, the CEO of Condor Gold. And you heard it, finally the permitting process is moving forward. And it looks like, as he said, they are probably in the final 10% of the permitting. And honestly, I think it was really important to talk about the social aspects also of mining, because this company is doing a lot for the people living in the community, living in the country, aside of royalties and taxes which are paid. But I think it's also important to get clean water, which is something which is normal for us living here in the Western world, but for those people it is not. And also to get sewage, to get better power access and stuff like that. And especially clean water is something to prevent from illnesses and to give those people a much better life. So mining is something which is really positive, and Condor Gold is doing it the right way. So thanks for watching us. Check out the company. Bye bye from Zurich.